We'll be right back.
What in the world could ever put me?
He for real, you can see it in his swagger. Yeah, you can see it in his swagger. He a boss, you can see it in his swagger. How he walk, how he talk.
A lot can change in 2 years, but not everything has to. With the Charter Price Guarantee, lock in low rates for 2 years, because sometimes it's nice to know what's on the road ahead.
And we're back. On the phone is my co-host, Lars Anderson. Lars is going to give us an update on his thoughts of the Heisman Trophy, his next article for Sports Illustrated. And pretty much we're just going to have a little hodgepodge of gumbo, because we know we're going to the national championship. Roll Tide. So, Lars, how you doing, my friend?
Doing really well, Gary. Good to be with you again.
Well, it's always good to hear from you, and I'm glad everything is going well. So let's just jump right into it, Lars. Let's start with your thoughts on the Heisman Trophy 5 finalists, one by one.
Well, I think it's going to be the closest race in the last few years in history. And you know, just from analyzing what voters are saying on Twitter and different websites, it looks like it's going to be Robert Griffin III, RG3, who is going to come through in a really close battle with Luck and Richardson. If I had a vote, and I did have a vote last year, but I'm not voting this year. If I were to vote, I would probably put RG3 number 1 and Richardson 2 and Luck 3. I think the most important player to his team out of all the finalists is RG3. Take away from Baylor. Baylor doesn't have half the success that they enjoyed this year. Whereas if you took Richardson away from Alabama, you could probably argue that they'd be in the same situation that they're in, because they have decent depth at running back. I know in this area we are certainly pulling Richardson, but I don't see that happening. And there's a website out there called, I think, HeismanPundit.com, and this guy does a straw poll of about 15 to 20 voters, and he's predicted it based on this poll for the last 4 years. He's gotten it right, the order of the top 5 guys right, and according to his straw poll, it's going to be RG3, Luck, and then Richardson, and that'll probably end up being the final result.
Okay. Is RG3 on the same level as Cam Newton, Cam senior year?
No, I don't think he's quite that high, but I think he'll be a first-round draft. He throws a beautiful deep ball. He's got great escapability. He can make plays with his leg, and he's a real exciting player. I've seen him a couple times in person, and he's electric. He's somewhat injury prone, which I know will send up a red flag to scout. But I think he'll be a high first-round pick, and I'm sure he'll make the team very happy.
Okay. Luck. Let's talk about Luck a little bit.
Yeah, Luck is, he was a finalist last year, and he was certainly the leading candidate going into this year. But he hasn't had that sort of Heisman moment that RG3 had against Oklahoma, throwing that 37-yard touchdown pass with 8 seconds left to Sooners. And even Richardson, with that sort of signature run against Auburn when he went over 200 yards in the Iron Bowl, even though he didn't score a touchdown on that run, he put something like 8 tackles. And Luck, in big games, he's just been average. He hasn't been spectacular. And so, I think he's going to come up a little bit short in the voting. But he'll definitely carry the West Coast. The people around there, just again, based on what I've been seeing on Twitter, West Coast voters are going to put Luck 1 and probably Griffin 2 and Richardson 3.
Well, I tell you, on Andrew Luck, is it Andrew Luck? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Well, I got to admire this guy, because he had an opportunity last year to come out and be a top round draft pick, and he chose to stay in school. So that tells me he's not a selfish guy, and I mean, he bypassed the money for a year. Do you think he'll be a high-round draft choice this year?
Oh, yeah. He's considered to be the best NFL prospect at quarterback, John Elway, back in 3. So he'll definitely go first, and it looks like the Colts are going to have that first pick. And the Colts are going to have a big decision to make, whether to keep Peyton Manning and his huge contract, or and keep Peyton Manning and have Luck sit behind him for a year or two, or do you let Manning go and don't pay him? I think the $28 million that he's going to do next year, and then just go with Luck. I would guess they would probably end up parting ways. It's hard to fathom. You'll probably end up parting ways, and just sort of starting over with Luck, because here NFL scouts say Luck is pretty much a once in a generation talent at quarterback, it would be shocking if he didn't go number 1. The Colts' other option obviously would be to trade the number 1 pick. And if an aging Carson Palmer is worth 2 number 1 picks, what do you Andrew Luck would be somebody be worth 3 or 4 first round draft picks. So the Colts will be in an position on draft day.
Well, I tell you, I want to go on to the running back for Wisconsin and the Honey Badger, and then I want to save a special time for Trent Richardson, because I think this kid is going to be all that in a bag of chips in the National Football League. But the running back for Wisconsin.
Monty Ball. I spent some time with Monty earlier this year at a magazine on the Wisconsin offensive line, and he's not the big guy in the world, but he has a way of making people miss, and I think he's a touchdown shy of breaking the all-time single-season touchdown mark in NCAA, and he makes people miss, and he's also an electric talent like Archie Griffin. He also has the benefit of playing behind I think the second largest by weight line in the country, one of the most athletic lines as well. So he'll have a fine NFL career too, but he's sort of been off everybody's radar screen until just recent weeks. I of the 5 that are going to New York, I think he'll probably end up with.
Well, Lars, I tell you what, I am so looking forward to this NFL season being over, because the way I look at it, and this is just my opinion, this has been a lost year. There's no way in the world that you can not have preseason football and off-season training together and then have a successful year. I mean, you count the teams that haven't won 7 games this year, and when is the last time you've seen something like that in the National Football League? In over 100 years, I don't think it's ever happened like that before. So let's get all that behind us. Let's get these new draft picks out there, get the Heisman out of the way, and let's get back to football the way it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%.
Okay, the honey badger. This guy, I don't know what to say about him. I mean, he's all over the field. He's a defensive back. He's a punt returner. He's a kick returner. He can do it all. Can he do the same thing on the next level? And what are his chances of being a Heisman winner?
He's a long shot. He'll be one of the favorites going into next year. You got to remember that he was one of I think 3 players suspended for a game. It was the Auburn game earlier this year when they were allegedly busted with synthetic marijuana, and so he missed a game there. There was another game that he didn't even have a single tackle or a single unassisted tackle. And so there was a stretch in the middle part of the season where he really didn't do anything. He was real quiet. He came early against Oregon in the season opener. I think he had a couple strips and something like 200 yards, over 200 yards in return yards. And then he's obviously come on really late, having that spectacular punt return against Arkansas, and then another few great returns in the SEC championship game against Georgia. But he doesn't have the body of work over the full season that the other candidates do. But I think next year he'll definitely be a front runner right out of the gate. And how his game translates on the level, I'm not sure. He's spent some time with him too, and he's pretty slightly built, and he's not that big of a guy. I mean, he'd be 5'9", 5'10" tops. I don't know if he'd even be big enough to be a full-time corner, but he's spectacular on the punt returns, and he's just a great college player.
Welcome to the Rose Bowl. The team's taking the field. Not many people. Oh, my. He missed. Off to a rough start here. Somebody wants to go home. What's he doing?
If you're not watching college football in HD, you're watching Pee Wee TV. Graduate to Charter TV in HD and let it all in. You order a comedy. When it arrives, you're in the mood for a drama. With Charter On Demand, you can get the movie you're in the mood for at the press of a button.
Today we have the honor and pleasure of talking to one of the most prolific running backs in college football history, two-time Heisman Trophy winner, Archie Griffin. Archie, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. How you guys doing?
Man, like we told you earlier, every day above ground is a good day.
Yeah, I know that's right.
Archie, we are in the position here to have a potential Heisman Trophy winner, and I figured that I wanted to talk to somebody that knows something about the Heisman Trophy. So I figured I'd call my old friend Archie Griffin.
Well, all right. Thank you.
Have you had opportunity to see Trent Richardson play yet?
I really have. I saw him play, I'm trying to think of the first game of the season. And he was terrific, no question. No question. He was fabulous. Outstanding player. And he would have a real good shot at winning Heisman Trophy.
In your mind, Archie, as being a two-time Heisman Trophy winner, I know you have an opinion, so give me 5 guys that are potential winners. I mean, not media darlings, but guys that have a potential, have a real chance of being Heisman Trophy winners this year.
Well, Griff does. You certainly have the quarterback at Boise State. Certainly, I mentioned Rich Richardson. He certainly has a great shot. I mean, he's a phenomenal runner and a powerful runner at that. And also, you've got the quarterback at Stanford, Andrew Luck, who everybody's touting to be one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. So I mean, there's a lot of them out there, and it's going to be interesting to see who wins the award. I mean, Case Keenum certainly has continued to have a great year with what he's doing at the quarterback position too. So there's a tremendous number of young men out there that can win it, and I think it's still up in the air, to tell you the truth.
Archie, Lionel James here. The Heisman Trophy, to win that is kind of a campaign, because you got to go through a whole season and have a great year. But now, when you start out campaigning, you really start early. The first game you played at Ohio State, you rushed for 239 yards. That's your freshman year. Now, how does that campaign start?
Well, you know what? At that time, the Heisman Trophy wasn't even a thought of mine. In all honesty, that game in itself was a mystery to me, because that was actually the second game of the season in my freshman year. My freshman year was the first year that freshmen were eligible to play varsity football, and I was a year behind Gary there. And so that was the first year the freshmen were eligible, and I had no idea that I would even get into the game in that game that we played against North Carolina, where I had rushed for those 239 yards, because the week before I had gotten into the game for one play and I had fumbled. and that was at the end of the game. So I never thought that I'd ever get another chance. As a matter of fact, the night before the North Carolina game, I didn't even go to the hotel with the team. But that game got started. North Carolina blocked a punt of ours, went ahead of us 7-0, and all of a sudden they called my name off the bench to go into the game, and I was surprised as anybody. And went in there in a daze the whole time, and all I can tell you is that my number was being called and I was running with the ball. Good things were happening. That's all I could really tell you. But it was a tremendous moment for me. But it really didn't make me think about Heisman Trophy or anything like that. I was still thinking about the opportunity to play and getting a chance to get out on the field for Ohio State and being the best player that I could possibly be, and trying to help Ohio State win a championship. I mean, that's really what it was all about. But I was really pleased with the fact that I got that opportunity in that North Carolina game. I count it as a miracle because the night before that game, when the varsity players were at the hotel and we as freshmen and reserves were in our dormitory, when I prayed that night, I asked the good Lord up above to give me a chance to play, and when he gave me a chance to help me play to the best of my ability, and he did that for me, and as you can imagine, I'm very, very thankful for it.
Well, we're all thankful too, Archie. I had a quick question though.
Okay.
What did Coach Hayes say to you when you fumbled that ball?
You know what? I took the furthest point away from him that I possibly could when I didn't want to get anywhere near him because they used to tell me stories about Coach Hayes